Order, order. I call Wendy Morton to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr Betts, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship today. I beg to move that this House has considered the future of Aldridge train station. And I would start by saying I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak today with regards to the proposed development of a new train station in my Aldridge Brownhills constituency and its funding from within the City Region Sustainable Transport Settlement, known as many quite simply as CRSTS, which is less of a mouthful. But to start with, just a little bit of background about Aldridge Brownhills and where we come to with regards to the development of a train station. Currently, Aldridge Brownhills is one of only 49 constituencies in this country which do not have a passenger train station, and only 3 in the West Midlands Combined Authority area, and I think this is something that is really worth remembering. Like in so many other areas, we lost our station in Aldridge due to the 1960s beaching cuts. The last passenger train left Aldridge in 1965. And whilst to this day we still have a freight line with freight trains operating on it, we do not have passenger services. But what we do have, Mr Betts, is that we have a vision and we have determination to see once again passenger train services stopping and running through Aldridge. And that's because things began to change in 2017. Following the first West Midlands mayoral election and the establishment of the West Midlands Combined Authority under Andy Street, he laid down a bold and ambitious transport plan for the West Midlands region up until 2040. Yes, of course.
Can I commend the Honourable Lady for bringing this forward? And I suppose the Honourable Lady's ambition will be not just for the train station, but also in this day and age that we live in, Mr Chairman. There's definitely a need to ensure that those with disabilities can have access to all the train stations. I know government is committed to making those changes, but within the new bill that the Honourable Lady is asking for, is it not possible to have a disabled access there at the beginning, so that everyone has the right of travel as they should have in this great United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland?
Thank you. And my honourable friend makes a really important point here. I'm talking about a new train station, and absolutely I think new train stations that are built must have disabled-friendly access, and that's also about having access not just for the disabled but for those who maybe have a pram or a pushchair or bags and it's hard to carry them over the stairs. So I think that is really important. I'm also conscious that across the rail network, as the Minister will be very, very aware, we have a lot of older train stations, a lot of heritage buildings, and I know there is a programme to bring those up to speed. You might say a little bit more about that, but I think it is important. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about a train station for Aldridge is I want to make sure that my constituents have opportunities. They have opportunities to go into Walsall, into Birmingham and beyond. Young people have that opportunity to get the train to go to study, to university, and of course to access employment as well. So yes, I am ambitious for Aldridge, and when Andy Street was the mayor, part of his ambition was to bring a train station back to Aldridge. In fact, I remember the day he launched the plan, and it almost looked like the map of a smaller version of the London Underground, with all the different lines linking together, taking passengers into New Street. I think it's probably what the Department for Transport start to think about a mass transit system, the ability to move people around an area. And actually, a city region such as the West Midlands Combined Authority needs an integrated transport plan. In Aldridge, we have that train line. All we need is a station, and then we would be part of that integrated plan. And throughout the intervening period, since 2017, a huge amount of work was undertaken by the West Midlands Combined Authority and with Transport for the West Midlands. But the game changer came in February 2021, when Andy Street, on behalf of the Combined Authority, purchased land from the NHS for car parking. And this was a clear demonstration of intent to reopen a station in Aldridge. Yes, of course.
Can I thank the Honourable Lady for giving away? Because while Aldridge Station is projected to have a new 40 car parking spaces, Twyford Station, in my constituency, is having some resurfacing, relining, which will see the number of spots decline. This is despite 500,000 people now using the station, mainly because of the Elizabeth line, leading to an absolute nightmare for commuters in my constituency. Does the Honourable Lady agree that the Minister should bring Network Rail, Transport for London, GWR and their departments together to find a solution that delivers more car park spaces for stations like Twyford?
I'm grateful to the Honourable Gentleman for raising the point, because availability of car parking, I think we all know as train users, is really, really important. And I think it is, my view anyway, is it's disappointing when a car park is upgraded or resurfaced, and the upshot of that is fewer car parking spaces than more. I know in terms of Aldridge Station, the purchase of this land is really critical as part of the plans, and I'm conscious the plans will need to go through planning, etc. But I think he makes a fair point, and let us hope that the Minister might have heard those comments that he made, and if not respond in this debate, maybe she will respond to him at another time. But back to Aldridge Station, Mr Betts, and so the journey to where we are today. By June 2022, the strategic outline business case for the scheme was assessed, and it was given ministerial approval by the Department for Transport, and further funding was provided from the Restoring Your Railway programme. Indeed, the outline business case demonstrated that the proposal to reopen a station in Aldridge presented the potential to improve connectivity for the residents of Aldridge and reduce existing congestion by providing a more convenient public transport route with greater access to job opportunities. Demand modelling for the proposed station shows that there is the potential for 237,000 passenger journeys per year, and it would help reduce pressure at existing stations nearby, most notably at Blake Street and at Four Oaks, in the constituency of my right honourable friend, the member for Sutton Coldfield, who's not in his place here today, and also at Tame Bridge in the West Bromwich constituency. Then on the 20th of February this year, the green light for the project was given, and the budget of £30 million was secured from the government. Transport for the West Midlands and the West Midlands Rail Executive were working with Network Rail to get the station built and open, with a project end date of 2027. Imagine how excited we all were when we heard the news. And for the avoidance of doubt, just let me re-emphasise this. And it was stated on the West Midlands Combined Authority website that the budget for Aldridge Station was secured. Aldridge Station would initially offer a half-hourly service to Walsall Town Centre, where passengers would be offered an easy interchange with services to Birmingham, as well as the opportunity to connect to wider regional and national services. In addition, there were active discussions for further opportunities to improve and increase services at Aldridge. These also included the possibility that if the open access request was granted by DfT ministers for services between Euston and Wrexham, then the Shropshire and Midland Railway Company could provide services through Aldridge directly to London 5 times a day. What a game changer that would be for my constituents. And so it came as a big surprise to me and to my constituents in Aldridge when no sooner was the newly elected Mayor of the West Midlands, Richard Parker, in place, than he announced in July a review into the future of Aldridge Station. Not only that, but having said he would look into all transport projects, he then singled out only 3 projects to be reviewed, which of course included our proposed station in Aldridge. The question is why? Then, having secured the £30 million of funding through the CRSTS, it came as a further shock to learn that in their outcome of the review, Arup, as the independent assessors, were under the misapprehension that there was only a budget of some £3.6 million, and therefore they seemed to believe it was not a fully funded project. This is, of course, wrong, but that's the narrative that the Mayor wants people to now believe, somehow conjuring up some sort of illusion that the project has no funding and therefore it could easily be pulled. But Mr Betts, Mayor Parker knows this is completely wrong. In fact, he made an application to the Secretary of State for Transport to move over £26 million of this funding to other areas within the budget. Indeed, I was informed by the former Secretary of State for Transport in a letter on the 21st of November that she had agreed to move the ring-fence funding for the project on the advice of the Mayor. So I'd like to ask the Minister today if she can confirm when did Mayor Parker make his application and where has he sought to direct this funding to? I can only presume it's to part of his wider transport budget, but which part and where? Because my constituents are left wondering whether their funding is now being used to fund an unaffordable bus nationalisation scheme, which everyone told the Mayor before the election, Mayor Parker this is, could not be delivered on a budget he had planned that was only £25 million. You see, Mr Betts, on that basis, call me cynical, but an additional £26 million from the Aldridge project would prove to be very handy for the elected Mayor to push forward on his pet project. I'm not anti-buses at all, but what I am against is money that was earmarked, that was ring-fenced for Aldridge, being moved somewhere else. And this is why I feel that given the Secretary of State gave approval to via this money, it's important that we fully understand where it has gone. And I very much hope that the Minister will be able to tell me today, because the Mayor is trying to have his cake and eat it here. Firstly, there was a review that then became all about Aldridge Station being deferred until future years. And now this week he is saying, and I quote, "What is pretty clear is the funding wasn't in place, but more importantly, that project has not currently met the business case requirements that it would need for that investment to take place." Well, to me and my constituents, this all sounds rather like the whole project is slowly being pulled into the sidings, awaiting derailment by the Mayor. So I'd therefore be grateful if the Minister could confirm what intention Mayor Parker has signalled to the Department for Transport. I simply cannot and I will not accept the comments from the Mayor with regards to funding. And I'd like the Minister to confirm, one, that this was a fully funded project through the CRSTS and that the funding allocation was awarded to the West Midlands Combined Authority and Transport for West Midlands. Two, it was also detailed on the West Midlands Rail Executive website. Three, that this was a political decision, a political choice by the elected Mayor to change his political priorities to move that money, and he sought approval from the Secretary of State to do so. Once and for all, I do believe that it's time to call out the elected Mayor. My constituents and wider public transport users in the West Midlands deserve better. And it's time to admit that it was not his political inheritance, nor his predecessor, nor indeed the failure of any failure of the last government to fund a new station in Aldridge. It's his decision and his alone to deny the people of Aldridge of their funding for their new station. So turning to the so-called review specifically, I would like to ask the Minister, and sorry about all my questions today, Minister, but I'd like to ask the Minister to be clear about when the former Secretary of State gave her approval to move this money, because I'm really concerned that the basis of the Arup review was seriously flawed, as they, as the independent advisers to the Mayor, were either under the impression that approval to move this money had been given, or perhaps they were under the impression that the project only had a fraction of a budget, when indeed it was the opposite. The residents of Aldridge deserve to be treated with respect, fairly and equitably, and yet the manner in which this whole matter has been handled by the new Mayor actually does a disservice, I'm afraid, to politics. And now we find that the Mayor, having created his own hole, continues to dig himself in by repeating in his statements that the project was not funded and that the case for a station in Aldridge hasn't been properly made. And this is just not the case. And all this, Mr Betts, comes at a time when the new Transport Secretary, the Right Honourable Member for Swindon South, said just yesterday that better rail services put the needs of local people first. I couldn't agree with her more. And ensuring transport services are joined up and meet local needs and drive economic growth. This is exactly what Aldridge Station is all about. So I do feel it's time that the Mayor apologised to the people of Aldridge for this whole review, and I really hope the Minister will today clear up the facts for my constituents and confirm this was a fully funded project and that by one means or another the people of Aldridge have been seriously shortchanged and that the Mayor has put their proposed new station at risk. As I've said earlier, and I will conclude, the residents of Aldridge deserve better than the treatment they have been given. And it's incumbent upon the Minister today to be clear with all of the residents why the government backed this decision and to give them and me the answers to these very basic questions. Aldridge deserves its train station and it expects its train station. Thank you.
The question is that this House has considered the future of Aldridge train station. Minister to respond.
Thank you, Mr Bennett. It is a pleasure to serve with you in the chair this afternoon. And can I begin by congratulating the Honourable Member on securing this debate about the future of Aldridge train station, and indeed the Honourable Member, congratulate the Honourable Members for Strangford and for Wokingham who used the opportunity to raise important issues pertinent to their constituencies. I know that the Honourable Member for Wokingham would really like my thoughts about extra car parking spaces at Twyford Station, and I regret I shall have to ask my colleagues in the department and my officials perhaps to write to him about that, as I have not prepared notes on Twyford for today's debate. I share her enthusiasm for the delivery of new rail infrastructure enhancements such as a new railway station at Aldridge, and I recognise the wide array of transformative benefits they can bring. And railways can create jobs, spur economic growth, promote decarbonisation via modal shift from road to rail, and generally enhance people's quality of life by helping them to get easily from A to B. The magnificent new university station in Birmingham, which opened at the start of the year, has already facilitated millions of journeys and is a shining example of how infrastructure can transform lives and stimulate growth. And in that case, it's backed by early passenger survey results which show that nearly 90% of passengers rate the new station as good or excellent, and nearly 20% of those surveyed would have taken their journey by car if the new station wasn't there. So I'm sure the Honourable Member would agree that these are worthy goals, and she's right to advocate for the delivery of similar schemes in her constituency that can unlock such benefits. I completely understand her vision for passenger train services serving her constituency for the first time in a long time. However, it is in this spirit of wanting to complete transformative transport enhancements that difficult decisions have been made. As she knows, in 2022, the Conservative government allocated £1.05 billion of city-region sustainable transport settlement funding to the West Midlands Combined Authority, the WMCA, if I might. This money was devolved to WMCA, led by then Metro Mayor Andy Street, to spend on its local transport priorities. The West Midlands Combined Authority set out its priorities for a programme of investment which the Department for Transport supported, and this included an allocation of £30 million towards delivery of a new railway station at Aldridge. Now, some time passed, and in July 2024, the West Midlands Combined Authority presented a paper to the department outlining cost pressures across its portfolio of projects. As she will know, there's been significant inflation since 2022, and it's not unique to West Midlands Combined Authority that cost pressures have arisen in the delivery of infrastructure projects. This cost gap presented a material risk that schemes already in construction would be left unfinished. And the West Midlands Combined Authority proposed reallocating funding, which was allocated but not ring-fenced, from schemes not in construction, including Aldridge Railway Station, to those in delivery to ensure that they could be completed. Now, the Honourable Member has asked which schemes have been prioritised, and I'm happy to share that information. The schemes that have been assisted with the funding reallocated, as she described, include the Rail Package 2, which is delivering 3 new stations on the Camp Hill line between Kings Norton and Birmingham New Street, which includes stations at Moseley, Kings Heath, and Pineapple Road Station, the Wednesbury Metro Depot, the Sprint Phase 2 Bus Priority Corridor, which certain sections of that, the Dudley Interchange, which is a new bus station at Dudley, the Wednesbury to Brierley Hill Metro extension, and a further extension onto Merry Hill, and the Birmingham East Side Metro extension, which serves Digbeth and will serve the HS2 Curzon Street station. And a number of other programmes have been deferred as a result of needing to ensure that those schemes were prioritised. I can assure her that whilst improving bus services is an important issue, including in the West Midlands, these funds are not being redirected are used for that purpose, as she suggested might be the case. Now, West Midlands Combined Authority also proposed retaining £3.6 million to complete important ongoing design and business case development work for Aldridge Station. As she will well know, projects need to go through a process to secure final funding and move to delivery. At present, the work is being done using that development funding to produce an outline business case for Aldridge Railway Station. It needs to move from outline business case to final business case before it would... these are crucial steps towards securing a decision to deliver in absolutely any case, and that work can still continue with that important development funding. Now, I will give way.
I hear what she's saying, and I'm still hoping she'll answer some of my questions, but on that work that's ongoing, I mean, that was money that was part of the 30 million that was for Aldridge Station. I just feel that the department, the mayor, always falls back on that it's not under construction. The work had started, the work is ongoing, the 3.6 million to do the preparatory work, the groundwork. Network Rail I've spoken to, and they're all teed up to do all of this. So I still come back to the point that you've allocated 3.6 million. I still argue it's the full part of the 30 million. I still don't understand why Aldridge train station was the one that was singled out to be pulled from all of the projects.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for her intervention. As I have set out, there are a number of projects, and I've spelled out precisely which projects they are, that are in construction, and the West Midlands Combined Authority wanted to ensure that those projects would be completed and opened as the work and for significant spending had already been put into those and taking them into construction. As I've set out, Aldridge Railway Station has not yet reached outline business case and is not in construction. However, that development funding, the 3.6 million, will be used in order to develop that work and to ensure that it can go forward in the future. It is not the only project that has been deferred.
And I will not do too many more interventions, but on that specific point about it going through the business, the next phase, and then moving into construction, does she not accept, though, that because the mayor has wired and the Department of Transport has wired the money elsewhere, the money is gone now for it to be constructed?
Well, I accept that the West Midlands Combined Authority had cost pressures and they don't have sufficient funding overall to complete all the projects that were set out in their original plan to the timetable that was envisaged. So she's correct that that money has been reprogrammed to use on other projects as I set out. However, that does not mean that the railway station could not be delivered in the future, and indeed other programmes have been deferred, including part of Sprint Phase 2, the Hagley Road Rapid Transit Development and the Cross-City bus programme are some of those, which I know will be unwelcome news. Now, the request was made in July of this year, and in September my department approved West Midlands Combined Authority's recommendation. And I do stand by that decision, albeit I understand the honourable member's disappointment that schemes not yet in construction, including Aldridge Railway Station, will not be delivered to the timescale originally planned. The £1.05 billion originally allocated by the Conservative Government to West Midlands Combined Authority has not been reduced. West Midlands Combined Authority have reallocated the way that that money is being spent with our approval so that they can finish the job on schemes that are currently in flight. I'm confident that we're aligned on the benefits that transport enhancements can bring, and that's why we cannot afford to leave schemes unfinished. I understand that her concerns, but that is the decision that West Midlands Combined Authority sought for us to take, and we have allowed them to proceed in that way. Now, as the honourable member set out, West Midlands Combined Authority's portfolio of transport enhancement schemes was established and signed off under the previous West Midlands Mayor. Under a Conservative government. But the cost escalations and delays that we've seen for the programme also occurred during Mayor Street's tenure under a Conservative government. And I'm committed to ensuring that the schemes in delivery, which were named in the previous Mayor's manifesto, that the honourable member campaigned for, are delivered. And I believe with her advocacy and the leadership of the current Metro Mayor, Richard Parker, who I know is ambitious for the West Midlands and its transport network, the future for Aldridge Railway Station remains bright. With its £3.6 million of development funding, design work and business case development continues at pace. Now, my department is currently undertaking a review of the previous administration's spending plans, and once this is complete, we will confirm future funding allocations. By carrying out this essential pre-delivery business case and design work, West Midlands Combined Authority are ensuring that Aldridge Station will be well placed for delivery funding as and when more money becomes available. Her work with the West Midlands Combined Authority and her constituents to advocate for this scheme is the best way of ensuring that there's a strong local consensus behind it, increasing the chances of it being funded in the future as and when funds become available. And if and when Aldridge does get delivered in combination with the new stations being built at Willenhall and Darlaston, we could see the number of stations in the Walsall area double from 3 to 6, which obviously is a hugely exciting prospect for her constituency and the wider region. Mr Betts, I'm ambitious for the future of Aldridge and the future of the West Midlands, and I urge the honourable member and the West Midlands Combined Authority to continue developing plans to ensure that we deliver better transport infrastructure that supports economic growth, jobs, decarbonisation and improved quality of life for the travelling public of the West Midlands. Thank you.
The question is, this House has considered the future of Aldridge train station. May that being say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. We're now coming to the next debate. I think we're still waiting for the Minister, so we'll just have to wait till 4:30 before we can commence.